can we have a clarification on what the real side really means when one is on the astral to the etheric realms? Can this be called the real side, or is it only the real universes that deserve that appellation?
That's very good. Thank you for asking that. I better define this as we go along here. Yes, this is number, from all we've done, this is question number 469, I'm guessing. Okay, so yes, we're making headway. Yes, what is the real side? Yes, so what is Duane referring to here? Well, again, I wanted to create a reference more so than the old idea of inner, okay? And actually, in one of the books, it was probably Dialogues or whatever, Far Country, Revizor defines this. He says it right there. He says, it's not inner, it's not outer, it is. It's isness. And this is really what it is. So I wanted to make a statement, and so I start off with dream visions. I didn't want to just say dreams, because I taught what Paul had written. I got the original manuscript when Paul wrote the first 7 chapters of The Secret Knowledge of Dreams. And I immediately took that. I got in the page forms, I took that and I started classes at Orange Coast College for years. And so what is this all about? So I went in steps here with the dream visions. First off, when we go to the real side, we're first doing the dream visions idea. In other words, you have dreams, you have visions, you have demonstrations to it. You're seeing things, you're involved, etc. Sometimes you're the viewpoint, sometimes you're watching yourself, sometimes you're involved, and etc. Whatever the experience is. And so you come back here into the personal self, and then with the personal self, you have the objective view. It's really all the same. Here, there, it's all the same, okay? So you just take the T off of there, and it's here. You see? It's all there. It's all here. And so what is the real side? So I wanted something that would better define this position, and so I call it the real side, and Rebazar really liked that. He goes, I like the real side. And so I put this real on everything more so than just butter is real, you know, the real idea of butter, whatever it's marketed. But the real side is seeing what's going on. That's the real side of things. Yes, we term the real side when you're having an experience with the boys or whatever. We term that the real side because you're out of this personal side, so you're more into a real position. But the real side of the real side, it's not necessarily, it can be physical, astral, cosmic, it doesn't matter. All creation is the same. It's all encapsulated. Paul just broke it down so that we better understand, because we have these various vehicles and they correspond to your faculties. So he broke it down that way. So we use that. I still play with that because that's a good reference. It's been around a long time, so I saw that, you know, I'm not going to redo that. I'm going to refer to that because it makes sense for what we're doing. And so, but the real side is to see what's taking place. You see, it's that seeing. And so that's really it. It's not just, oh, I had this experience, and oh, I was with Rebazar, or I was with my mother and my dad, and oh, I know they were the real guides or whatever. Okay, so you do that, but you see it. But the real side is, okay, whatever's being demonstrated. Okay, so can you take that a step further and see how this fits in with what is taking place now? All right, so see, now we're into the real activity. We're into, because the world is doing what it's doing, it's agreeing to be self-destruct and to go into this demise. And so what are we going to do in the meantime? Are we going to step up and do something? So everything that we're experiencing, I, in some relationship, utilize that in some way to provide, better understanding for people to activate, not just collect knowledge. And so that becomes the real side, and actually the real side. So we have the real side. We have your dream visions. You have the dreams. It's like most people say, oh, gee, I had this dream last night, and it was strange, it was weird, it was whatever. People use these ideas. And even if they're with Rebazar or whatever, they go, gee, I didn't understand it, it was weird. And it's like, okay, you want to use those ideas, fine, but really take a look at it. But then you might say a step further. It's like, okay, there's a real side to this that's being demonstrated to you. And then the real side, I would say, is where you learn to perceive it according to the isness life is. So this is where, each person decides what they're going to see, what they're going to understand. And again, many people just come to these things and they just want to collect the knowledge. They want to hear, oh, what else is said? Again, why are they going to the seminars to hear Harry? Oh, we want to hear what's new. Well, after a while, they realize there ain't nothing new with Harry. There never was. He's just mimicking whatever. And they're starting to catch on. They're starting to wake up and see that, no, there's nothing there. Ancient wisdom and parables just don't do it because there's no reference to whatever. But with the new you're experiencing, kind of like an onion, these different layers. But you decide how you're going to see it and recognize what's taking place, you see. So the real side basically refers to something like the old inner idea is. It's referring to that experience we're having, you might say, outside the personal self. But yet the personal self is still there. There will be attitudes in the experience because the personal self is still there, because you're still connected to all your bodies, you see. And all your bodies are the personal self. They're all kind of mashed into one. So you have your physical, astral, causal, mental, and all the faculties, they're all mashed into one. It's just right now. But at the same time, like an accordion, I would suggest to kind of stretch them out and learn to recognize how each particular faculty works. How does a mechanic fix your car? He just doesn't just think in terms of, oh, your car has a motor, okay? No, he doesn't think in those terms. He knows it has a motor, a radiator, a generator, alternator, power steering unit. See, he knows it has all these things. He's got to define each part. So if there's something going on or he has to maintain it or see what's making the squeaky noise, he has to break it down. It's just not the owner of the vehicle who doesn't know what they're doing, they'll say, well, gee, I hear the sound in my motor. Well, it could be your fan belts. It has nothing to do with the motor. It has nothing to do with the engine. You see? It's learning to define these things. So again, each person decides their adventure with this. So that gives a little more definition to the real side. So you start to recognize what you're experiencing, you see. Now, the true reality life is, even if you're having experiences, that's not it, because it's invisible. And just like Paul described in the tiger thing, at a certain point, there is no seeing, see, because it's perceiving. See, and it's invisible, and it becomes very, very interesting. That is the whole of life. What we're seeing, and that's where he was prepared on the so-called 11th level with Agam Purusha or whoever it was, I forget the name of these people, where he was torn and ripped and things were ripped from him, etc., all these engrams, because he was prepared for that next position. In other words, it's kind of like you go through security through the airport and you've got all these hidden guns and knives and, bombs and whatever. Well, they come and they take all that stuff off and even all your clothes and everything. So you walk through it basically naked. And that's how it is as you go through these different areas. And so, but the first step is your dream visions, the real side. You take that first step. So that's the definition. But there's more to it, and it just depends upon the adventure you decide with this. But this gets you set up, you see, instead of just like, oh, I had this inner experience. See, again, looking at how these things are defined, people just, they'll just go, well, I had this inner experience with Rebazar. And, well, if you recognize that, let's say it's an ECIS in the corporation, and a lot of these people have experiences with them. But why is it that you're still with the corporation and you don't recognize what Joni is doing? So again, they're having the experience, but they're not recognizing what they're deciding personally, so they can have all the experiences they want with Revazar and whatever. And when they pass over, doesn't mean they're going to know where they're at, because their personal self came first. You see, it's very subtle. It's very subtle how this is. So I redefined it as the real side, but there's more to it than that. So that's one way to look at it. Thank you for asking, Charles.
Okay, then every U-turn is what is real, which is the quintessence of all life. So, is the journey an adventure to the east, nothing but a journey in self-discovery?
Well, you can say that. Okay, you can define it like that. Again, you decide. And so there again, subtly, is the personal self, right? And so again, Paul, I look at what Paul wrote because I studied Paul's writings and they were wonderful many, many times. But for the most part, it referred to the personal self and the experience and etc. What I've set up here is the bigger picture, and that is that yes, it is self-discovery. You can say that. It sounds really cool. It sounds like, etc. Like you're the explorer. Yes, it is like that. But yet, it's a whole lot more that you're not seeing and you cannot consider. And see, that becomes the best part when you can figure out how to not consider, okay, your personal self and what it is, okay, then you're into the real side of the isness. Yes. And this is what I call standing real with it 100%. But only you can decide that, you see. So we've been babied along with this personal self. We've catered to it. But how long do you want to cater to it? Do you want to decide 100% to stand real? Well, see, to the personal self, that's scary. It's like, whoa, I'm not going to exist anymore. Well, there is a real side to your personal self that you decide to stand real with. Or do you want to stay with the old personal self and what it has known and what it has experienced? You decide. You see, this is where, even Paul said it, what can soul assume? You decide this. See, this is what I see, and this is what I'm bringing out. And so again, each individual, you decide your position. And so do you want to be as life is, and it really is, or do you want to still hang on to that personal side? So again, this is how this reality is allowed to expose itself to you according to how you decide that it will. That's one way to see it, Charles. Go ahead.
Okay, in any case, my idea of self here, is different from the personal self, because the personal self is physical, has physical and psychic connotations. But then when we talk of the real you, the real you is a free being of pure light. And this is a statement that everyone has to prove for himself, whether he is really a free being of pure light, or else it just becomes a mental concept. So I want to think that uh, this the journey to the east, um, knowing about the east is knowing about one's true self, knowing about the real you, as opposed to the personal self. Yeah, that is what I was thinking about. That's what I want to deduce from what you said. I don't know whether you can say a little bit more on this.
Yes, it's very good. So we go a step at a time here. Yeah. And as you bring these things up, people better understand. Okay, again, we'll go over it. And then there's basically a couple of steps here. One is the personal self. We have this personal life, which is the five bodies. And through this, through comparisons and recognition and experience, we begin to recognize the real you. Yes, that free being of real light. Now, let's just use our imagination here a moment. And so we are the sun, like the sun shining, okay, in the real universes. All right, so that's the real you. Yes, again, it's the personal self learning to recognize the real you, etc. But then again, from that position, as you've gone through creation and you recognize that and can stand real with it, all right, you decide if there's to be more. Now, this is where the is comes in. In other words, we'll just use the idea, okay, who's bigger, you or life? See, again, this is where you even get out of, remember, when Paul went into the real universes and he was in what he called the soul body, the form. And yes, there's pure form there. But then as he proceeded, all of a sudden, he had no form. And so again, for me, the way I look at it, the way I keep focusing is that, yes, there's me, there's the real me, there's me, the Duane here, there is the real me, but I always put life first, you see. It's not about, oh, gee, I'm a free being of real light. No. I refer to the is, or the boys, but mainly the isness, because life is bigger. And this is where this new view, this perceiving comes in, you see. So in the meantime, what's the idea? What's the old idea? Self-realization and God-realization. In other words, you realize yourself, okay? So you realize yourself as an individual and a person. Okay, fine. You've gone through lifetimes, you recognize that. And yes, we've gone through these things. And these are the ideas that hang with us. They really do. They're attached to us unless we let them go, because we already went through those stages. Now it's, recognizing what creation is, because for the most part, and even Paul used the word consciousness, most people think that consciousness is the ultimate, but it's not. Consciousness is something created in creation. That's as far as it goes. That's why the God idea everywhere, because that deals with the personal, social, and world and cosmic and all these consciousnesses that have been created, these group consciousness. It all is encapsulated in creation, has nothing to do with the real universes. There is no consciousness there. There is this isness. So what I'm saying is that yes, you can go from point A to point B, which is the personal self, and recognizing that with all the knowledge. And then you can go to the position of, oh, it's the real me, which is that free being of real light. Yes, so, okay. And then you decide if there's going to be more to your adventure to perceive the isness, to where it comes first. It is what it is, because it is the whole of life. Remember, even in that position, we're the experiencer. And again, many times this is where people kind of trip themselves up with the personal self. It's all about me. You see, I'm this free being of real light. Well, great. Okay, where does this isness come in? Because you might say life decides. All right, it's already decided. All right, and you can decide whatever you want. But that's how I see it. So I put the isness first. Yes, I recognize that, but the isness is first. And I recognize these different steps. And this is where, as I write and present things, it goes into these areas and it becomes better defined, because at first you just want to get the information out there. And so, and people have come and said, well, gee, you know, you don't really have things stacked up here. You don't have a plan or whatever. No, I don't have a plan. You got to figure it out. It's just like if you're going to go out there and look for gold. Hey, you don't buy, you don't buy a plan at Walmart saying this is where the gold is. This is how you find gold. You know, you get a basic idea, but you still got to go find it. You got to do some digging. You got to do all kinds of things. You know, whatever it is you're looking for. And the same with this. The adventure is putting it together. But we give the basic idea, and thanks to Kelsey and others, that they have put the marketing part together so that people do have a focus. That's where I usually refer people to Kelsey when it comes to doing the first steps. But now you're seeing that there is more, and you decide, okay? You decide where your intent is, where you want to stand real with. So is it that you just want to, because that's very comforting, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm a free being of real light, and etc. But, you know, I see that, yes, that is something that is noted, that is so, but I see the isness as everything. And so that's the best part. You know, it's kind of like swimming in the ocean where, you know, the ocean's all around and it's just awesome. It's wonderful. You're on some beautiful beach in Hawaii or whatever. And for moments there, you just forget yourself, don't you? You are just the experiencer. It's not about, oh, I'm a swimmer in the ocean and I'm having fun, you see? Now it's about the ocean, because that's what's supporting you. That's how you float. And that's what the isness is, when you totally forget all this stuff that has been so literalized, and even in that part of the real you, that this is what life is. It's so cool. It all supports you. It's an isness. No more restrictions. So that's an idea there. I get what you're saying, Charles. So again, that gives you a little more definition to it.